In the continuous effort to paint the president as a communist, a Marxist, a socialist, a plagiarist, whatever, the right is now championing a fabricated term conveniently channeling imperialist Russia. The latest right-wing anti-Obama meme, the war on czars. You know, the drug czar, the car czar. Of course, Republicans don't seem to know there aren't actually any czars in the American government. The term here is used as an invention of a lazy news media that prefers drug czar to the job's real title, Director of National Drug Policy Control. Director of National Drug Control Policy. See, that's why they prefer drug czar. A lot easier. In our third story on the countdown, Republicans are now leading the charge against the Obama administration's appointment of policy advisors, the same kind of policy advisors every administration has had. The right wing's war on imaginary czars, high-level policy advisors who do not face Senate confirmation, has led Republican Congressman Jack Kingston of Georgia to introduce legislation barring any presidential advisor unconfirmed by the Senate from joining the federal payroll. Mr. Kingston, joined by a veritable anti-czar chorus, among them Senator Susan Collins, along with 5 other GOP senators, firing off a letter to the president singling out 18 advisory posts that may, quote, may be undermining the constitutional oversight responsibilities of Congress, end quote. Senator Collins, of course, neglecting to identify which specific positions she has issues with. And in a recent op-ed, Senator Kay Bailey Hutchinson claiming an unprecedented number of czar posts in the Obama administration, even though she has supported these same advisory positions in the past. The White House hitting back, calling the self-appointed czar in the war on czars, Glenn Beck, and other GOP lawmakers with a post on its website. Although some members have asked serious questions about the makeup of the White House staff, the bulk of the noise you hear began first with partisan commentators suggesting that this is somehow a new and sinister development that threatens our democracy. Meanwhile, the DNC doing some further truth squatting with a new web video, Dancing with the Czars, showing Beck rattling off a list of appointees, except the pictures shown next to Beck aren't czars from the Obama administration. They're actually from the Bush administration. Yes, the Bush administration. Joining me now is Margaret Carlson, columnist for Bloomberg News and the Washington editor for The Week magazine. Good evening, Margaret. I'm going to need your help shooting some fish in a barrel here.
Right. It's Friday night. We need an easy one.
I mean, is it possible that a Republican congressman like Kingston, he actually does not know that his bill would have prevented the likes of Dick Cheney working in the White House as a chief of staff, which he did, of Henry Kissinger working in the White House as an advisor to President Nixon. It would prevent everyone who's currently working in the White House who advises the president on anything other than his tie selection, wouldn't it?
Well, Jack Kingston is taking his facts from Glenn Beck, who's replaced Rush Limbaugh as the leader of the Republican Party. You know, many of these people are confirmed by the Senate, and then they get the name picked up as czars. I mean, many of us have imaginary friends. Glenn Beck and these Republicans have imaginary czars. They're nothing more than people that are in jobs that, as you said in the intro when you stumbled over one of the names, it's much easier to call them a czar than to come out with these long names.
I mean, the term czar, it is, let's just get it straight here, it's journalistic coinage. It has no real meaning. And, I mean, is the right suffering from a kind of confusion here that just a half-decent high school education could have cured?
Well, they're looking for every little thing to mount, 3 hours on talk radio every day, and the czars came up because, as you pointed out, the Russian thing plays into the socialist charge. And imagine if the president didn't have a drug czar. Then they would be saying, oh, he didn't name a drug czar. Or, by the way, there was a Bush faith-based czar. I mean, there's nothing new. And there was a czar in the Roosevelt administration, he was called a rubber czar. There really was one. And he was in charge of getting enough rubber for the war effort. And he fired everybody, and he got new people. And by the way, he got enough rubber, and then he went back to his other job. That was what a czar was then, which was a temporary thing. These people are mostly here in jobs that are confirmed. I know at least 10 of the ones that Glenn Beck was talking about, not the ones left over that he was talking about from the Bush administration, are just your normal, everyday, appointed Senate confirmed person.
Now, I've never worked in the White House taking these incoming shots, but this thing feels like a joke to me. Am I underestimating it? Should the White House be taking this more seriously than it's taken it?
Until you showed me the bite from President Obama, I'm shocked that the White House responded, because it does seem like a totally silly charge that no one would take seriously. And there he's talking. I mean, it is noise, but why would you dignify the noise? It seems to me it's something that would pass by very quickly. But maybe these days you can't count on anything passing by.
By the way, Margaret, that war that the rubber czar was helping us out with, we won that war, didn't we? This is a pretty good record for some of these czars, isn't there?
Well, not particularly the drug czar so far, but yes. Maybe the faith-based czar might be doing it.
Well, we'll see. Margaret Carlson of Bloomberg News and The Week magazine, thanks for joining us tonight.
Thanks, Lawrence.